Welcome to NoClip. I'm Chad Rutherman.
I'm JJ Artemis.
And I'm Andy Cannon.
And today we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed 2, which was released in 2009 on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, and then later on Microsoft Windows in 2010. The game was developed and published by Ubisoft, actually.
Ubisoft, or however they want you to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's because it's ubiquitous software.
So it's
Ubisoft.
Okay.
And I mean, it was developed technically by Ubisoft Montreal, but most importantly, though, because we're talking about a Ubisoft game, and I played it on the PC, and I presume that you did as well.
Yep.
And then you played it on PlayStation 3.
Yes.
Okay. Fuck You Play is the dumbest thing on the planet.
What did it do to you?
It just existed and, made me open a different program to launch the game. Why do I own the game on Steam if they're gonna, put it through their DRM thing?
It was automated for me. I just had, a little box that said Uplay just sort of, explode onto my screen for a second.
But the first time that I launched the game, I had to, reset my Uplay password because I haven't used it since I played Far Cry 3.
Oh.
And, I kept getting huge notifications that were 2/3 of the width of the screen that were achievement unlocked or action completed, as they say.
You're right, yeah.
And to give me UB points or whatever.
Those are valuable. You can redeem them for in-game items.
Shit, I'm not gonna use. And
I had no problems with that.
with you, yeah, the console version I imagine is a lot simpler to deal with.
Yep.
Yeah, so Uplay sucks. Just wanted to get that out there before we started.
We wouldn't want the whole cast to be sort of just consumed with fiery rage.
These undertones of how much I hate Uplay.
We want it to be known throughout the land that Uplay is bad.
I had the same issues with it when I played Far Cry 3, but actually the same issues when I played Far Cry 4 on the PlayStation 4. Ubisoft really needs to get their shit together with this Uplay thing.
Child of Light was good.
Did it have Uplay?
It did have
Did
Uplay.
it?
Fuck,
No, I played it on the Wii U, so probably didn't have
Probably no
that.
no Wii U play.
No Wii U play. Nintendo shot them down on that.
Alright. So, actually talking about the game.
Yeah, the video game. Yeah.
This is a, I guess it's an action platformer is how Wikipedia describes it.
Okay.
And I can definitely see the, it is a platformer. But maybe it's just the way that I approached the game, but there really wasn't a whole lot of, action for me. It was more of a, sprinting on buildings and then occasionally leaping atop a dude simulator.
I actually had sort of the opposite experience. I thought that if any of those two words I was going to question, it would be the platformer one, because...
Because you're JJ.
Potentially deep pool here. Either of you guys ever have those, to-go car portable board games? And they all have, magnets built into them?
Yeah.
This whole game was, attempting to, a live-action version of a platform with one of those magnet games. It's everything that you do is based upon, tons and tons of predefined actions that'll just sort of squish into one another, like magnetic pools.
Yeah.
So instead of, having to do the normal platformer stuff that kind of annoys me a bunch, where you have to sort of sit around and make sure you get the exact arcs and the distances right, the game just sort of always takes care of it, but has a 10% chance of misinterpreting your intention and just causing you to do something else.
Yeah, that was one of the notes that I took. And I actually took it kind of late because I didn't realize exactly how I was feeling about it at the time.
Yeah.
This is probably not you, but Andy,
yes.
And when you're playing a platformer, sometimes you'll feel like there's a thing that you should be able to jump on, but you can't. It's you'll jump to it and slide off, or you'll go through it or something, so it's not actually rendered. I feel like Assassin's Creed 2 has the opposite problem, where you can just jump on anything, and the game will just want you to attach to things. You just climb up fucking anything, windows, doors, plants. I would just be running and be oh, I gotta jump down to make a quick escape from someone. And Ezio would be look, a plant, and just swing around a corner. And I'm what are you doing?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to get used to the controls, because like I had that problem too, where like if I was running on the street, he would always like jump up onto something I didn't want him to. Like, there would just be like a bread cart, and he'd like jump up on it
and then do like a dive roll off of it.
And then I had the opposite problem where I was like on the rooftops, like I would jump. And I would think he would grab onto a ledge, and he just didn't.
You have to like manually grab in this game, which is strange.
But only sometimes.
Yeah, not all the time.
It tries to automate things. That's what this game really does a lot of. Lots of automation in terms of like core mechanics, which is why it is strange that like they had one mechanic specifically that was all based around it not automating, like the huge jump. Where they allowed you to feel huger because you had to manually choose to grab things.
Well, I think it's, like, the way that always kicked in is just, like, only if, when you were falling, you, like, weren't grabbing the top thing.
Yeah.
So you have to manually grab things below the top thing. Which I found out, like, after 30 times of, like, being like, I'll just drop down to this next ledge and then just fall straight to street level and die. And I was like, oh, that's why I need to hit shift.
Oh man, you died from falling?
A couple of times, yeah.
Also a couple of times for me. You said that, and I thought for a second it might have been a larger sort of problem, because I was surprised by how often you did not instantly die from enormous falls in this game.
That's true.
I only straight up died from height, like, I think, like exactly 2 times. And all other occasions, I just took, like, a surprisingly large amount of damage and was surprised that I lived through it at all.
I always felt like, with the exception of select, like, combat encounters, I was always either at full health or I didn't care about my health, or just dead immediately. Like, I very rarely just, like, took chip damage enough to eventually die.
Yes.
It was always like, I'd be at, like, 4 pegs and be like, I'm fine, and then end up doing something incredibly stupid and dying. There's some guy threw rocks at me and I fell off the building.
I kind of always used health as, like, additional jump cheaty mechanism. The strongest, I don't think you got to this part, but when you're running through the fair, when they have all the games and stuff, you'll remember this?
Yeah.
One of the games that you play is capture the flag against a dude, and my health bar is just like, this is how many times I can cheat and fall 6 stories and be fine.
I don't understand how you were supposed to do that game fair.
Neither do I.
I did that same thing. I just like sprinted and like leaped off the building and like, hit the ground so that I could get to the flag faster.
I'm curious. You played it on PS3, obviously.
Yes.
Did you use a controller?
I used an Xbox controller. I was worried about using the Steam controller for this one because I thought the second analog stick might be problematic.
You also couldn't, so good choice.
You could not use the Steam controller?
Yeah, Uplay fucks up the Steam controller's interface.
What?
So you can't even use the Steam controller for this game.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So,
choking bike, Uplay spite.
So I used a keyboard and mouse to play this game, which was less awkward than I thought, but there are a lot of situations where I felt like I just needed to be holding all of the face buttons on a controller simultaneously and couldn't do it with a keyboard because I only have one hand. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like holding like right click for like fast move, shift for sprint, like space for sprint, shift for like plow through people, and W to move forward. And then like if I needed to perform any other action, I had to get like a third party to come in and press a button for me.
Well, that really reveals how much you went through this video game like a steam train, just sort of like plowing through anything your way.
Well, I mean, it's me. I would have done this anyway, but like anytime I was actually in a mission, I was just sprinting all the time.
You didn't run any problems with like the crowd? You didn't like trip and fall over a million times?
Oh, I did. It was hilarious. I just like I spent 90% of the game rolling through the city streets.
I did the same thing.
It's still slower.
I just sprinted everywhere.
Well, it's only slower if you fuck up. It's a test of your ability.
Yeah, you can weave through people.
Yeah.
That's why they want you to slow down so you can be nice and use the like gently push out of the way button.
Right. That's like the thing that is most iconic about Assassin's Creed, like in the public consciousness, weirdly. It's like white hoods and walking through crowds and pushing people to the side. And once they taught me the blend mechanic, I just like never used it because I was just doing things at breakneck speed. Like I liked the fact that if I needed to like change direction, rather than stop and turn around, I could just run into a wall, jump off of it, and like grab a ledge and run across a building.
I was gonna say, yeah, I have to disagree with that statement. Is I think they built the controls so that you didn't have to slow down if you didn't want to.
I think the game has a couple of like very engaging verbs that it presents you with. That it prevents you from thinking, no. That it presents you with, and like, I feel like our experience, like between all of us, probably really highlighted very different things.
I hope so.
Because I imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you enjoyed the like fact that you could take every encounter in like a stealthy approach.
I was probably less stealthy than I would normally be in a game like this. That you're correct in that because of the way that they sort of automate your movement so much that there's just less reward for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have the feeling I was the same. The fact that you haven't mentioned the whores yet, I think, really suggests that we had a completely different experience.
Oh, did you use the whores a lot?
The whores are the most overpowered thing in this video game.
I used them a lot in the early game as well.
Yeah.
I used them twice ever. But when I did, I remember the first time, it was like hire the, what do they call them? Like consorts or whatever?
Oh, I didn't remember any name. They just have like a little flower symbol.
Yeah.
For purity.
But you like, I was like, look, they're just like acting flamboyantly. I was like, I'm trying to lay low, so hire them to walk with me. But then you hire them and they just act more flamboyantly. Like, I don't understand. Like,
they're distracting. They're distracting. Right. You're looking at the whores and not the person directly.
They're only supposed to distract the guards. So, like, you go past the guards, they run up to them.
Oh no, they are a multi-tool of utility. You not only can you do like the crowd blending stuff,
right?
You go through them and you use them as intentional distractions. If you get into combat, they just like pull knives out of somewhere and just get into the action.
Anytime that happened, like, they just got killed or ran away for me.
I guess maybe it was just because I'm so much better at the combat in this video game.
Maybe.
And maybe it could also be because I realized if there's any point in which you have an ally with you when in a combat in this game...
Well, I mean, that's what, like, the mercenaries are for.
But no, it's not allies as in, like, oh, you finally have help and you can start these big scruffles. It's not overpowered in the way that you would expect, like, getting help to be. It's not like, oh, now it's 5-on-5 and each person is one to a man. All I ended up doing was just ordering people I had with me to attack groups of guards and then just, like, lazily walking around and just stabbing them through the back. Yeah.
The combat in this game is just so bad, but I will talk about that.
Yeah.
When you're talking about, like, walking around with whores,
yes.
It amuses me because, like, in terms of, like, the stealth mechanics, the one that I used, and, like, the more that you talk, the more that I thought about how I played this game, the more ridiculous it seems, like, in context.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I used more than anything else was just the throwing cash mechanic.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I didn't slow down. So there would be, like, people, and I would just be, like... just like throw a handful of change, and like people would scatter, and I would sprint by them.
Oh, that's what you used it for? To clear the road?
Yeah, just toss cash. And I always forgot that I had it like selected, and so like it would be like an hour later, and I'd be like on a building, and I would like climb down and like be behind a guy, and then just be like, just throw a handful of change at it, and be like, fuck. I have to switch over to my hidden blade.
Yeah, I almost never used the cash because you had to switch to it. Like, I always forget.
I just always had it selected.
Like, the minstrels would come wandering up and I would just tackle them.
The first time I did it, I, like, missed the tooltip for selecting cash and didn't even know that was, like, a thing you could do. And it was just, like, press left click to do the thing that they had told me in the previous one. So I was like, okay, and I hit left click and I just like deck the guy in the face. It's like, oops.
I meant to bring this up when you brought up the whores.
Yeah.
Initially, but I think my funniest moment with the game was I was doing the mission later in the game when you had to get all the codex pages, which involves like murdering guards to get the pages.
Yeah.
And so I was walking up to try to do like the dual kill thing on two of them, so that there were only two left, and there was a group of prostitutes like right next to them. So like I walked up and like the guards were like highlighted, and like I hit the R1 and square to do the thing, and he just leaps and kills the prostitutes I was like, oh. It was like legitimately like shocking there for a second.
Did the guards do anything?
Whoops, yeah, they immediately attacked me.
Good, alright. Nice rule of law, respect there.
No,
Whoops.
Yeah, I almost never ended up killing guards even for the Codex pages. I always thought because of the way cash throwing worked that they were kind of hilariously ineffective into the late game where you have like the more professional guards that don't care about money anymore.
Yeah, and you'd always be like, whenever I would try and use the cash to get through like a blockade or whatever, there'd always be like one dude who wouldn't go for it.
Yeah.
But like when there's one dude and you're anonymous, you literally just walk up and click.
Yes.
And you're just like, well, he died, and then just run away.
Yeah, I found that in the early game, I felt like I always had to resort to combat because I found like throwing cash and sneaking just didn't work very well for me.
Sneaking I thought was okay. The problem is that it's so much slower that you never want to do it.
Yeah.
The game presents such a low challenge for any failure state that you can just sort of be the crazy action hero without any sort of cost.
I found it like easy to mess up too. There's something about like the controls, like when I was trying to be really precise, I felt like it was easy to fuck up.
Well, yeah, it's because everything's squishy in the game. Every mechanic is attempting to not... Every button doesn't do a specific thing so that you can then control and plan.
Things.
Every button controls like a part of your body that is contextually supposed to do things in different circumstances. Mm-hmm. And since the circumstances are controlled by your relationships near other objects, and we're dealing with a 3D game with crowds of people, you're always shifting between what all the buttons do at different times, even when it's just like you, another dude on a rooftop. So things end up inevitably just sort of fucking up. The amount of times I kept trying to like jump off of a roof, like to make a quick escape, and I instead just like did the stupid like whoa thing where like you're about to fall off the roof but don't, or just grab onto the base. Like grabbing in particular, I remember being bad in this regard because you have limited control over where the ledges are, and you have to distinguish between pressing the button and holding the button all the time.
Yeah, I recall a time when I because my favorite being like I played a lot of the encounters very non-violently, in as much as like I ran like through everything. Oh, okay. So it's like it would be dumb for me to stop and fight 30 people who are chasing me. So it's better to just sprint until I'm out of sight and then jump in a hay bale. So like my favorite thing to do was to sprint along a rooftop, and if I encountered a guard in my way, to just grab him and throw him off the roof. But like
I did that a lot.
Every once in a while, I would run and like go to grab the guard and tackle him and just go off the roof with him.
Yeah, like I found that to be by far the most efficient way of dealing with the roof guards.
Yeah.
Is just run up and grab them and throw them off.
Why is it better than just stabbing them in the fucking teeth?
Well, it's if they see you. You can grab them.
Okay.
If they don't see you, you can just walk up and clap.
Yeah, like I didn't... Like, when I first got the wrist knives...
Yeah.
Like, it gives them to you, like, in a combat scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I was like, these are hilariously ineffective. Yes. And then, like, I just used the sword for, like, 95% of the game.
Yeah.
And then, like, the latter, third of the game, I started using them to actually do the assassinations. I was like, oh.
This is what these
This is how these work.
Yeah, it got to the point where I started just using the hidden blades even in regular combat, because it's just easier than doing, like, the actual combat moves, which are hilariously imprecise when instead of like shoulder buttons, which feel chunky and make sense, you're using a mouse and you have to hold right click and then tap left click to do the parry.
Oh, I see.
So it was more efficient for me to just use spacebar to do the dash and just like jump around them when they attack, and then you just like stab them in the back.
Yeah, I found the combat to be like really inconsistent as well.
Yeah, like even after like 15 to 20 hours or something like that, I still don't fully understand, like, the flow, I guess is what I'm talking about. Like, I get the health bars, I get that you have to, like, sort of time the attacks in the same way that you have to sort of rhythmically time them in the Arkham Knight games and a lot of things. I think this game actually might have been the progenitor of that idea, not Arkham, but it's what stands out in my head because I played it first. And they get sort of how countering works and all the different dodge functions that they give you. But I'm not quite sure, like, when you're supposed to do either. The one that was always worse for me is I never really understood the windows when I should be just being the offensive guy and hitting with the sword, because it seemed at least until very late game when you're dealing with huge guys with heavy weapons that you can't counter easily, so much easier to just stand there in a group of 20 people if you don't have any smoke bombs or an easy way to escape, and just wait for them to do stuff and then kill them immediately with a counter.
What I ended up doing was trying to grab them and slit their throat, which was the easiest kill. I would try that on everybody.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah. You have to have if you're using the sword specifically, that's what happens when you grab people.
Oh.
If you have the hidden blades, you'll pick them up and throw them. But
and if that didn't work, there's a big group, I would find like some kind of like stack of crates and jump up on it, because then the guards come and they climb up and you can just whack them for free.
They fall down,
and then they keep trying to get back up and you just whack them for free.
Yeah, the first time that I did that, I was like, well, this is ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah,
I cheesed that. Yeah, like, and I didn't feel guilty about it at all because I didn't think the combat was very enjoyable.
I completely agree. I still don't even understand, for example, like, why knives are a distinct category of weaponry. Like, I don't know what circumstance I wouldn't want the hidden blade or the sword, but would want a knife.
I don't think I ever used the knife.
Literally never used the knife.
Neither did I.
So maybe it's like super useful and we just don't know it. I feel like it should be noted at this point as we're like discussing this combat system that this is all of our first Assassin's Creed game.
Oh yeah, of course.
So like this is kind of like the reason we chose it is because it's generally accepted as like the good one. And so
it's like this in Black Flag, right?
People like Black Flag, and also people like Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flags. Actually, no one likes the band Black Flag.
Oh, I didn't know Black Flag was a band.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, so this is my first Assassin's Creed game, so it ends up being like us trying to like discover this combat system. Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, it's possible that if we had played like 30 hours of Assassin's Creed 1 before playing this, like most people who bought this game originally probably did, that it would come more easily.
Yeah, having like beaten the game, I found it to be but a lot more enjoyable in like the last chunk when I had a better understanding of how everything worked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the familiarity, unless I'm giving how much influence this combat system has had too much credit, is really like a good explanation for why we're having all of these troubles. Because I've played lots of games with combat systems that are derivative of this. Like I played like 20 or 30 hours of Hand of Fate, for example.
I'm aware of that game.
Yeah, it's like its combat system is like a much more simplified version of this with a lot less weaponry. And
I thought it was like a card game.
Well, it's partially a card game.
But then you have like action segments.
Yeah, that's the whole stake of Hand of Fate, is that there's various randomized things done by decks of cards, and the encounters in the game, like when creatures would fight in card game terms, is you controlling a barbarian guy.
Is Assassin's Creed fighting?
Yeah.
Okay.
But and that was all very simple and very intuitive. I got the sort of like flow of trying to do the counters and when to be offense really, really fast, but I never really grasped specifically how to be offensive effectively in this game.
I feel like the answer to that is just don't ever be offensive. Like, I only did it when somebody was the last person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found the way to be offensive was to just mash the attack button.
Yeah. And he's like, and then eventually they get to one peg and you just stab them to death.
Yes.
Like, maybe this is intentional. Maybe they chose this feature specifically to make you feel sort of disempowered compared to the entire rest of the mechanic set because they didn't want you to get in fights with 40 guys. But the problem is that they didn't prevent you from winning. They just prevented you from like eating them like a lawnmower. Yeah. Like, you can still win a fight no matter how many people are against you in the fight. It takes longer.
Yeah, and it's like if there's anything to distract the guards, you are just mowing them down.
Yeah.
Like, because you just walk behind them like a basically and just stab them. And you're like, we're done.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, the only part of the combat, I guess, if you even want to call it that, are the assassinations with the hidden blades.
Yeah.
Not much combat going on. Or just killing.
Yeah.
I find it kind of funny, though, because, like, like I said, before we started recording, I don't know the story of Assassin's Creed 1, and this game kind of just throws you in, like, hot. Like, immediately the first thing that happens is they're just like, get in the Animus, and you're like, who are you? Who am I? Other than White Drake.
Yeah, they really assume that you played the first one.
Yeah.
For all I knew, it didn't even connect directly to the first one. Like,
yeah, until they started up until they started talking
this
about
is the Animus
Altair.
2.0.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So the game has this this I guess respect for Assassin's Creed 1 in its storytelling, and the way that they sort of make this a thing is that you are like a descendant of a line of assassins, and the game pulls this bullshit video game thing that happens a lot where it's like, I've deciphered the ancient text from the assassins organization, and their secret technique is to grab a guy and throw him off of a building. Really, no one could have thought of that. Just you learn from Leonardo fucking da Vinci to stab a guy and throw him off a building. It's a secret assassination technique.
Yeah, this game is it's equally mushy with all of its historical figures and how significant they are. It has almost, I don't know, it's a lot of reverence for them, but it's reverence in the same way that an anime fan has reverence for things, in which they just assume they're awesome at everything.
Right.
By the end of the game, I don't think you ever reach this point. Just straight up, Niccolo Machiavelli is just part of your assassin organization.
As proven before, I probably could have guessed that would have happened.
It's just did that just come off as which weird as hell to you guys?
That Machiavelli was
just
a character?
the historical figures being characters.
I think this is another thing that probably occurred in Assassin's Creed 1 and we just don't know. But yes, it is very weird that they chose to do that.
Because Da Vinci showed up and I'm
very early.
I was really?
he's a friend of the family.
And then I was oh, what a weird dumb cameo. Nope. Actual character.
I didn't know about that feature of this game. The problem is that the first one was it was set in the Crusades, and I can't name a single person from the Crusades offhand, even though I've watched videos about the fucking Crusades. It's just not sticky. But Leonardo da Vinci is certainly sticky.
Yes.
So it comes off as so weird when you have all these people who you know as historical figures just acting as video game NPCs in every stereotypical way.
It's because it's supposed to be a fictional version of actual history, and then they put in real people, and it's if they put who's an historical figure from the early 1900s.
1900s?
Just name one. If they just plopped that person into Indiana Jones.
Oh, okay.
You know, wouldn't it be weird?
Yeah.
That would be really true. It's God, yeah, because this game takes
it's Einstein. It's just in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, this game's tone as a whole, I feel like I don't even know if this is what we want to get into, but we're going to, so buckle up.
Okay.
This stuff was what was most interesting to me about the game. It was based on my perceptions of it before I played it. So
this game, I feel like it has a tone to it that works in that action movie, because it really is Indiana Jones meets National Treasure, or a Dan Brown novel or something.
Yeah, it's definitely got that feel.
Yeah, it's just a crazy action thing with lots of set pieces.
With Illuminati.
Yeah, with the Illuminati, with a bunch of conspiracy shit thrown in. But they sat down in a boardroom or the elevator pitch or whatever happened when they came up with the concept of Assassin's Creed, and everything that was said was taken just as literally as possible. They were I want to do a sci-fi fantasy historical fiction game. And someone was alright, well, we have the sci-fi, and then we have this massively disconnected fantasy part, and then we have another huge drop-off where it's historical fiction. Obviously, we need Leonardo da Vinci in our game in order to make sure people know that it's historical.
Exactly. Yeah, it came off as pandering. People won't know what time period this is supposed to be unless Da Vinci's in it. And
a character at one point says I assume you're familiar with Leonardo da Vinci, which comes off as like he's talking directly to the player.
Yeah.
Being like, you're not like an idiot, right? Like, you know who Da Vinci is. Because everyone in the game is just like, Da Vinci, he's just some low-life painter. Like, people could realistically have no idea who Leonardo da Vinci is.
Right.
But you're asked it as if he's a big deal because he is historical.
I took that to be just like a joke. Because they were like, Da Vinci? And they were like, oh, you mean that painter?
Right,
that know nothing.
Okay, this is what I'm going to
Well, no, because even Ezio is like, what does a painter have to do with this? Like, at some point.
Yeah.
It's like, he's not, like, a big deal in the city.
Exactly.
And it's just weird.
I just think it's played as a joke.
Like, when they ask you?
Yeah.
I suppose.
I am unclear. It is unclear to me whether or not the authors of this game know what jokes are.
Good point, because the humor in this is super juvenile.
Is there humor in this?
Yeah.
This game?
I mean, you could... Technically, yes, it's humor.
The It's a Me Mario joke?
Dude,
is that what you're including?
Okay. That I've never, ever wanted to punch a game in the face harder than when that happened.
And then when he remained as a main fucking character.
Yeah, like I had to like put the controller down and like walk away and then come back. It's like, did they really do that?
See, here's the thing.
Nobody.
I thought it was great. No, I'm kidding.
I'm surprised he wasn't wearing red.
Yeah.
This was a big part of like my general critique of this game.
Yeah.
This game has a sense of humor,
mm-hmm.
but when it does, it is like ridiculously immersion breaking. And it's something that doesn't belong given the tone of the game. If they're going to pull that ending, they cannot have a guy go, "It's a me, Mario."
Yep.
Like, they can't take themselves self-seriously and also be this fucking stupid in their, like, humor.
Yep. There is another great example of how stupid the humor can be, where you're helping one of the female assassins that you end up meeting and helping,
mm-hmm.
and she's like, has this castle and like fort and everything, and it's being invaded, and you get all the way into the castle, you fight your way, all action set piece like, and you get there, and then like the bad guys show up, and they're like, "We have your children," to the woman, and she's like, essentially like, "I don't give a fuck," and like flips up her dress, and she's like, "I got the equipment to make more," like something like to that effect. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No one would ever do that or say that.
Right.
2, she wasn't wearing like period appropriate like underwear. It was just
Right.
like regular underwear. That was weird. And I could go on.
The audience for that is not even going to respond to it in any way.
No.
That was the moment I quit the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I assumed that you hadn't gotten to that.
It wasn't 100% me
Because
being
of
principled, because I also just ran out of time in addition. But I chose that moment as the moment where I gave up.
Yep.
Right. That's the part where like your Assassin's Creed story ended. And so you saw that occurred, climbed out of the screen and like cut his own throat.
Desmond took the
And it was like, nope, we're done here.
History is lame.
History is for nerds.
Which is completely what Desmond would say, because he only speaks in fucking quips and confusion.
Right.
The opening of the game was such a weird shift for me, not just because I was trying to get a handle on what was going on, because the game is such a direct sequel, but also because Desmond kept treating all of the shit that was happening like he was literally in an amusement park, like in one of those sit-down rides. Meanwhile, Miss Serious Doctor Woman, or whatever her job is just fucking wrecking armed guards with her bare hands, and you're like, "Oh man, you look totally nice today," or whatever the fuck he said.
Yeah, like she's always like, just don't do anything because you'll hurt yourself. You have the full combat mechanics at your disposal, and because I was just trying to figure out the controls, because the controls are displayed as like a colored circle with an icon in it that are like a hand holding something,
Mm-hmm.
but like that doesn't translate in my brain because obviously the hand holding something is like represents a button on a controller.
Of course.
But for me it was left click.
Yeah.
And like they didn't explain things like to run you hold right click. And so like I was just like doing whatever. And at one point like Desmond just like turns around and like does that like because when you enter a combat encounter he just like magnetizes himself to someone and just like punches a dude in the face and I was like, oh, like I can just beat the crap out of everybody and just stopped waiting. Yeah, the whole opening sequence is really bad, and then gets worse from there. Like, every character you're introduced to is horrible. Everyone is unlikable. Like, nothing they say makes any sense outside of, like, the Ubiverse.
Or matters. None of them matter. That was the most surprising thing to me as I kept going on. I thought the moments
in the frame story?
Yeah, when you get pulled out of the Animus, I thought they'd happen, like, every 3 hours, or there'd be things I'd actually have to do other than like that one weird test
where you have to climb some boxes.
Yeah.
Apparently that kind of thing happened in the first one and people didn't like it.
Yeah, because the twist of the first game was that it was a simulation. Like, you weren't supposed to know that until like a certain like prescribed point in the game.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
And knowing the twist is part of what made me not want to play Assassin's Creed 1, because I didn't care about the story. I was interested in the gameplay. But if this game was just better in every way, I was like...
Yeah, like, that's something I wanted to talk about, like, because I think that's the most interesting thing about this series, is, like, I knew of the Assassin's Creed franchise, but had never played it or really known anybody who was into them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was a thing. Like, the whole, like...
Animus
simulation thing.
Oh.
Until, like, Dan got Black Flag a couple years ago, and he was
we
were just talking about it, and he was like, "Oh, that's like the whole thing with Assassin's Creed is like a simulation," and I was like, "What?" Like, I just thought that was the weirdest thing, and like I didn't know like what other people thought of it.
The reason that the fact that they in one was a confusing fact for me to learn is because I thought what they were. Like, I had always known about the frame story and known about what they were actually doing with the historical jumping. So I thought they were using the frame story, not just in 2, but I thought in the series as a whole, it's just an excuse to do all the video gamey shit. Like, they did that well, I thought, in 2. Like, it's an excuse for the existence for all the menus, it's an excuse for all the prompts, it's an excuse for loading levels.
I really hate that.
Sure. That's a fine tonal thing.
Okay.
But
it contextualizes it successfully,
yes,
I guess. Like, it's not a complete failure.
I won't argue that.
Right.
But how in 1? I guess, did they still have all of the, like, wireframe shit, and they just didn't explain it at all? I never played 1.
Of all the things that I know about Assassin's Creed 1, the UI is not one of the things that I'm, like, just aware of.
I feel like if that's true information and it was played as a twist, they couldn't have done that, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And that was the only reason I thought they did it in the first place.
If you were playing Assassin's Creed 2, and they cut the whole intro sequence, they cut all of the VO from the people, and it was just like a historical assassination fiction, science fiction thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit the pause button, it came up with like a white background with red pillars, and you like scrolled through them. Would you even give it a thought past like this seems a little out of place?
When did the first one come out?
2009?
Yeah.
2007. Sorry, this is 2009.
Okay.
Last one's 2007.
See, I feel like now, if a game did something like that, I would think it was fishy. But like back then, I don't know. Maybe because I was younger, or maybe because games hadn't been as ambitious with their storytelling yet.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say.
Yeah. Either way, I thought it was...
Because, like, Talos Principle was a game where, like, as soon as glitchy things happened in the environment in that game, I was like...
I'm in a simulation.
But nothing glitchy happens in this game unless it's, like, explicitly called out as a glitch. But they don't do anything with the frame story other than just making excuses for the menus and all the stuff that's going to happen. Like, the Animus works perfectly. It is an exact, accurate simulation of everything, and nothing goes wrong.
Well, you're aware of Black Flag's, like... primary conceit, right?
Oh yeah,
that you were like you're a QA tester for a video game.
Yes.
So it's like that is like the ideal version of the Animus interface, where it is just like a totally unnecessary thing that just explains game elements.
Yeah.
In this game, it feels out of place, even though it is a good representation of those game elements. It just is weird generally.
I think it comes off as so weird because they don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it even like I don't know if they like shifted focus in the middle of the game or something, but like that part in the beginning and then that part in the middle where they take you out, it seems like they're setting things up to like do something with the frame story, and absolutely none of it pays off by the end of the game.
Yeah.
Because then you go back in, and then you don't come out to the end credits, and you're escaping the lab. So I guess it's all they were maybe wanted to put it in 2, and then they were like, well, we'll just put it in 3,
right.
or something.
The end of the game, you finish the game as Ezio. Like, not Desmond.
Yeah, and then the credits start rolling, and then you play a short sequence as a Desmond, and like the bad guys have showed up, and you guys had to escape.
Right. And yeah, it does seem a little bit like aborted midway through.
Dude, to tie this into earlier conversations, I think they have such sort of a clash of like directions and tones here. Like, I think there's a version of this game that is totally self-serious that could be good, and a version of this game that could also be hilarious if you sort of played up the like
meta elements.
Yeah, like the Far Cry 2 style ridiculous
That's
shit
what I was gonna
that
say.
can happen.
The hilarious version of this game is Far Cry 3. And this is actually like a thing that I want to go into more. It's something I wanted to go into a while ago, but this whole natural conversation thing happened.
Oh, horrible natural conversation.
So do we want to take a break and then come back and we'll start talking about more of the like open world design?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do that then. Let's take that break.
Nah. Let's just keep going. So, Chad, what did you think about... Can the intermission music be Can You Take Me Higher?
Take me higher. We'll be back from the break.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I have a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and a lot of them are sort of like quick hits.
Quick hits.
Good. Hit clips. But one of the big things about this game that I feel like we haven't discussed and needs to be discussed is that it is an open world game.
Yeah.
And playing this game is like very much like just stepping into a time machine back to 2009 when this was just how video games were.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it is insane how similar to the later Far Cry games this is.
Really?
Like, disturbingly so. And, like, we talked a little bit about how the sense of humor in this game is really immersion breaking. It's because the acceptable immersion breaking in an open world game should come from the systems, and there is a humor to that, and there always is and will be, and there are games that capitalize on it like Grand Theft Auto does.
Yeah.
But this game pretends that it won't happen, even though it's going to constantly. There are all of these systems in place that are just inherently comical, and then they even emphasize it with lines of dialogue occasionally. Like the previously mentioned like coin throwing mechanic, where people will literally just run and be like, money, money! Like, getting gold the easy way. Like, these are all things people actually say in this game.
The constant insults that get sort of thrown at you for like jumping around.
Yeah, and the people who are just like, yeah, that's another thing, is like, it's a mechanical thing where they want you to be aware that people are seeing you. And they also want you to be aware when people stop seeing you. But because you can run at like 1,000 miles an hour, and because it's an open world game, and therefore you can like climb a building and just get the fuck out whenever you want, you end up with interactions where like a guy goes, that dude's got a real sharp tailor. He's disappeared. It's like he was like commenting to his friend about how you looked, and then you vanished, and then he was like, he's gone. It's just really awkward. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, really bugs me about how seriously the game wants you to take it versus how they seem to take it in development. It feels like a too many cooks kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. This is absolutely, like, too many cooks, the game.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing against this game, I think, is just how, like, ungraceful a lot of it is. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of good ideas in here, and it's all pulled off, like, pretty well, but like pretty much everything needs polish.
Yeah, there's like lots of okay.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, the first half of the game, I was like, this might be the most okay game I've ever played. And then I got more into it the more I played it, but still very okay.
More into it in a positive way?
Yeah. I was much more positive on the game upon finishing it than I was, like, at the halfway point.
I had an opposite trajectory, but only because of fatigue. The open world systems I initially had a lot of fun with. I think, weirdly, my favorite part about the game was that they let you have the active choice of whether or not you, like, leave your city in squalor, like your home base town. I like that you had, like, not just a home base place like you normally do in these open world games, but you had an entire city that was, like, kind of partially under your control and finance. But
yeah, I don't want to, like, come off as, like, elite gamer here.
Yeah.
But, like, this game was so, like, easy in its encounters that I found very little else to spend money on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, because the first thing I did was renovate, like, 5 things or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I renovated the rest of it with the money after, like, 3 missions. On, like, literally the whole thing was just done. And then it would be like, you've got 50,000 florins in the box. I was like, it's been 20 minutes. Like, what am I supposed to... Medicine's $100. That's all I buy.
And you get a discount if you upgrade your...
your doctor guy. Yeah.
The discounting was weird. There was less... sort of like equipment grindiness. Not that they should have added on another video game feature on this feature full of video game features, but like
in our feature on Assassin's Creed 2's features.
Yeah. But, like, I ended up, when I figured out at the, like, 11th hour that I was not going to be able to finish the game, that I had, like, 3 more memory sequences to go. I was so confused when I realized that, like, I had the end game gear. Like, I'd gone through all of the tombs.
See, I don't think that was supposed to be end game gear so much as it was just supposed to be, like, an extra collectible.
Then why would you get the best gear, like...
I think it was supposed to.
Away from
I think it was supposed to incentivize, like, the open world, like, exploration part, because, like, nowadays there's lots of open world games, but, like, in 2009, like, I feel like a lot of people would have picked this up and went straight through the story.
Yeah,
and, like, I think that was there to be like, go find these tombs off the beaten path and you get a cool thing.
If I had continued on my trajectory, I would have never gotten Altair's armor. Because at the point that I stopped, I had done 2 tombs, and I wasn't planning on doing a 3rd.
You didn't like the tombs?
It's not that I didn't like them, I was just trying to get as much of it done as I could.
Oh, I get it.
Really, honestly, like, I got to a point where I stopped progressing through the story because I felt like the story wasn't really the main focus of the game.
Yeah.
And it became increasingly obvious over time that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are lots of, like, subquests and mini games that I have one of a bunch completed on my stats screen.
Yeah.
Because I was just trying to sample everything. And that's where the Far Cry 3 stuff comes in. Far Cry 3, 4, Primal, Blood Dragon, that kind of thing.
Like the feathers and all that shit and all the numbers.
Because what it is they fill it... They just wanted there to be stuff to do. And the problem with that design philosophy, and I feel like it's a thing that has kind of died off more.
Oh yeah, this in 2009 we were, like, hitting the ramp of open world, and in the waning years we crested over it, and now in the modern day we are on, like, the sharp down toward, like, the post Assassin's Creed being constant world.
Yeah, and because what it is they want. Like, in an open world game, they feel like the player is going to get bored if they don't give them something to run to at all times. But when the things that they put in the game are not engaging themselves, that is where the problem lies. Like, a race mission is not exciting.
Yeah.
It's just another thing to do, and by the time you've done 30 of them, you're just sick to death of it. Like, people who want to complete the game 100% are going to hate themselves. And people who, like, just go through the game normally aren't even going to engage with it. So it's like, this content doesn't need to exist. I even find collecting the feathers more fun than the minigames, because it involves, like, an active challenge of, like, doing something that I find inherently enjoyable, which is climbing.
It's just the system.
Yeah. As much as I don't like this game generally, I don't want to bash on it too hard in terms of all of the systems, because there were just by virtue of bulk of what you had to do, a lot of individual systems that I liked. We already touched on, my favorite thing in the whole game were the tombs.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, I thought that...
When it felt the most like Prince of Persia.
Yeah, and also, which is, I think, sort of us sort of showing our biases here, because it's also when the game was its most prescribed and linear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when they've, like, set up specific challenges for us to get through.
There was the one church that was my favorite, the one where you go in all the way up to the top. I think it was in Florence.
Oh, yeah, that church was awesome.
That was my favorite.
Yeah. But, so, I liked those. I also liked, this is one very tiny example, this wasn't nearly as big as a system of the tombs or anything, but the way that they implemented thieves, I was always happy about thieves. Because they're super red and they're imposed on the minimap, so they always like sort of show up by surprise when you see them and you can't plan for them. It sort of subverts the checklisty nature of how a lot of these like open world encounters are supposed to go,
right.
Because you don't go to thieves come to you, and then they have something similar to how the races work where it's a test of your movement abilities, because the guy moves a little bit slower than you, so if you mess up anything, he gains a pretty significant amount of ground.
Right. This is in the Far Cry 3 version of this is bears. Where you will just like be strolling along doing your thing and suddenly be mauled by a bear.
Oh, I thought the bears were like running away, and Far Cry 3 was just like, get that fucking bear!
No, that's what I did. I just chased bears down and blew them up with grenade launchers.
Dude, neither of you got to the end, but like the end of the 13th sequence before you get to the 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
It just throws up a roadblock in your face and is like, you need all 30 codex pages to finish the game.
Yeah, so you have to go on a stupid fetch quest.
Yep, so you just have to go grab them all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had like 15 of 30, and I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like such like an old, like, N64 or PS1 era form of like padding.
Yeah.
Like, go do something else to make the game
It literally
last
is
longer.
Banjo-Kazooie. Like, just go get all the notes so that you can open the last door.
It's more like the Triforce chart sequence in Wind Waker.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely straight from Wind Waker. This was probably the weirdest example of like non-polished, because they made the codex seem like it was such a big deal to the lore, and then a large percentage of these pages...
Then they forget about it until the end, and they're like, oh yeah, that thing.
Well, you keep randomly getting tiny pages, but like half the pages that you have to get or something are literally just like in buildings guarded by 4 people.
Yep, they're all the same. So you just have to go to each city, find them on your map, go to them, kill 4 guards, take it.
That's so fucking weird.
15 times in a row.
Imagine if in Wind Waker, like, the little pieces that you had were just, like, in a hut guarded by 2 hobgoblins. And it was just 16 times. It was just that really tiny, easy encounter.
This is Ubisoft's, like, open world design, where they pick a thing, and they make it something they can easily iterate on, and then they put 30 of them in the game.
But they loaded this so you had to do it all at once.
Right. The fact that it's mandatory is where they fucked up in this game.
Yeah, that's the weirder one, because normally with stuff like that, when you do the iteration, it's with really insignificant stuff, so that's it never gets in your way, because you only have to be like self-inspired to go do it. Like the feathers in this game.
Right.
The feathers are the example of the normal random collectible, where there's nothing really tied to it, but they're always put in positions where you're like, well, I can get to that, I can get to that feather, and it's supposed to be getting them, it's supposed to be the accomplishment.
Right.
But instead, they played up the item as if it's like a significant part of the lore, and then just did nothing. Like, most of them were just owned by random people, guarded by 4 guards, and who left their door open anyway.
Yeah. And, like...
It's like, we don't need to lock the door, we got 4 guards.
I think that you can get them, like, just, like, throughout the whole game.
Oh, yeah, I had 20 before I quit.
But so... what was I going to say? So I guess it's okay, but like the game doesn't like point out like you should be getting these.
Yeah, it's like they mention it to you occasionally. They talk about it, and like you go talk to Leonardo da Vinci, he'll be like, "Oh, codex page.
Yeah,
here's your super secret assassin technique.
Leonardo.
Pull the guy into a hay bale. Yeah."
Trying to have fun, Leonardo.
It's a great philosophical codex page. It'll give you some health for some reason.
What's up with that?
And every 4 you get, it's just another strange incentive because they realized that they needed them because they couldn't actually build up a mechanic set around acquiring the codex pages. But I had the opposite experience. I didn't think they were optional. I took the narrative at face value when it said, like, these codex pages are super fucking important. So I got every single one, and it kept being confused that they were all the same stupid 4 guard encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, That's another thing. We haven't really talked about the narrative that much, other than in broad strokes.
Yeah.
Did anyone else find it really boring and kind of hard to follow?
Oh yeah, of course.
I think it is patently hard to follow.
Yeah,
I feel like you only get bored with it if you're really paying attention. Though.
Yeah, like it'll be maybe. But like there was one point just like randomly in the game where it just skips forward like 3 years.
Oh no, the game keeps doing that. That's the point. This game takes place over like 20 years.
Yeah, you don't even like notice.
Yeah, it wasn't like I showed back up and was talking to Leonardo, and he was like, the last 2 years have been good to you. I was like, what? It's like 2 years, been like 40 minutes.
Yeah, there's a place where Ezio has like I've spent 10 years hunting down my family's killers.
Yeah, I was like, 10 years?
Yeah, because nothing else in the game changes.
Yeah, I was like, you mean like a couple of tops?
It makes sense that they wouldn't... Like, of course they're not going to like rebuild the city every single time they do one of these time jumps.
All they have to do is put a texture over it, though, and be like...
They put a texture over it?
No, it's all they would have to do. It's put like a texture, like.
But there's a lot of fucking texture to be put over.
That is true. Yeah, but like, just like a place that you've been to before, throw like a sign on the door that says like closed. Anything to indicate that some time has passed, but nothing happened.
Yeah, all they do is they have the
don't age.
Yeah. Also, I refuse to believe
10 years old.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that Ezio spent 2 years learning how to dodge swords. Like, it doesn't take that long. I did it 3 times, and they were like, "You're good. You learned it. Now we'll take 11 months off, and I'll teach you the next thing."
The only hints that you get are the year pop-ups, but because we're playing a game about like historical fiction, like whenever people talk about history, we don't group years into the same time periods that we do in our actual life. Like, even if you're like a super history buff, you can maybe group things into like decade spans once you get past like 1850 or whatever.
Right.
And we're talking, when the game takes place in like 14 whatever, then the 100-year difference is the only thing that we're going to like really pay attention to. Like, it's not like I memorized the 4-digit year the first time it was shown
exactly.
to
us. You don't remember what
I
year
won't even
it
do
started.
that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this might even be worse. Like when they give you like a date, like an actual date where it's like October 18th. I'm like, I'm never gonna remember what fucking day it was when I did that mission. It'd be like, next is October 21st. Like, it's been 3 days. It's like, has it? I forgot already. It's been 20 minutes.
Yeah, so it always ends up blindsiding you, even against the attempts that they took to like make things seem really sequential and different with like the numbered sequences in the game. Like normally when you have things like that with chapter breaks, it's a lot easier to make like time pass or to make breaks if you want there to have breaks to exist. But because nothing ever changes in the environment in this game, it just didn't work.
War never changed.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game, that's like. You could just use that to describe this whole game as basically its main issue is the fact that the game tries to make things different, but fails. It has so much of the same stuff over and over again.
You do have to give them a lot of credit, though, for, like, trying a lot of new things.
Like what? What do you mean?
Like...
Oh, nothing.
Actually, you got me, Kate. Ubisoft paid me to say that.
Again,
but like, I don't know, because like, thinking of when this came out, like, this kind of game wasn't the standard. It's like I'm sure they tried, like the whole movement mechanic, like the movement mechanics were a unique thing, and like the world structure and the way the game's designed. Like, there hadn't really been a game like this other than the first one.
Oh yeah. And again, I think there's just also by virtue of just how much stuff is in this game, there was a lot to give them like specific credit for.
It's so much copy paste. It's the same issue I had with Far Cry. When I went from Far Cry 3, a game that I really liked, to Far Cry 4, a game that I was pretty lukewarm on. Yeah. Far Cry 3 is a game that I really liked because I hadn't played it before, and Far Cry 4 was the same game. It's like you can only do so many assassination missions. You can only do so many feather collections before you get sick of it.
Yeah, I feel like a better kind of game to implement these like mechanics would be a much more linear one.
Mm-hmm. Like Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
Sands of Time is
I think you could still keep some open cities, but like still like reduce the scale.
I think you aren't really giving credit to how much the like active movement system gave them freedom in an open world environment.
True. I mean, like, it fits. Like, I feel like applying like movement, like better movement mechanics, is a way to like really improve just open world games in general.
Yeah.
Because like, I remember like when we played a Journey, thinking that like if there was like an action, like a Zelda-ish game or like an action RPG with movement mechanics that were like this satisfying, like that would be like phenomenal. If you could just like run around and just vault stuff, and run up stuff, and like quality of life.
A term like we kept coming back to is polish. We kept talking about like some things needed to be polished a little bit more. I feel like this game has so much that like couldn't be polished because of just like the amount of it that there was. But like, the movement as somebody who plays platformers mostly for just the movement, the freedom of movement is what I like about them. This game was really enjoyable in its base systems because of the movement. But there were things that needed polished. More than once I walked up to a staircase, stopped at the top, and was like, and looked down.
Oh yeah, like how many times I was like, well, okay, it didn't happen that many times, but like enough times that it stuck out in my mind where I was just running and like the camera shifted all of a sudden. I just leapt off the roof. Whoops.
There were a number of times where it'd be like, I'll just jump to this ledge on the same building that I'm on, and he just goes completely at a 90-degree. Yep. He's like, you wanted a leap of faith, right? I was like, I wanted a calculated leap of not faith.
The game sort of trains you in the open world phases not to be calculated. Like it's so squishy, and it makes up for so much of your imprecision that I think you kind of just get lazy. Because once you think about it and you are deliberate, as I was when going through a lot of the like timed sequences in the tombs, I thought it was still a really solid movement mechanic set once I just had to sit down and actually think about what I was doing.
Right.
But because it's an open world game with a million collectibles and almost nothing challenges you, you just don't have to do that generally. So it all ends up just becoming like this weird flow state. Like people talk about flow state constantly within the games as like a positive attitude, and I can see why they would sort of spend all of this time trying to make sure nothing like got in your way or like interrupted you. So they succeeded in that regard, but I don't know to what end.
Like, I don't know how engaging it is to just never have to think and just always be sprinting.
And I feel like that had to have eaten up so much development time to like design all the cities to have all those points that you can climb up. Like every tall building has a hay bale into.
Thank God that somebody was just going around the entire nation of Italy and haphazardly nailing T-shaped boards to every building.
And like pulling bricks out just enough so that you could climb up.
That was actually impressive, come to think of it. Of all the things that were copy-pasted, iterated in this game, the kind of stuff that counts as like a thing you grab onto is completely unpredictable. Like they did a nice balance between being able to look at a wall and kind of knowing because something's a little bit off or non-uniform that you could climb up it. Right. But it's never like, with the exception of the stuff that you jump off of at the very tops of buildings, there's no like uniform, this is what I can grab onto object. They're all just different edges and things that you would have to think of in the real world yourself.
And I feel like that has to be like where the majority of the time was spent with this game.
Yeah.
Is getting that right.
Actually making the city.
Yeah.
Did you ever like swim in this game?
Yes.
Did you ever try to like climb out of a river?
Yes.
It is, to me, really frustrating because like the whole thing looks like modeled like you would be able to like climb it.
Yeah.
But like it has distinct like lines that overlap, and so you have to like be underneath of the next thing that you can climb up. So I would just like sit on the side like ass in the river like slowly making my way along looking for like the thing to pull up.
Yeah. I was okay with that. I had similar issues in terms of like the lines that you can or cannot cross. Yeah. And most of those issues evaporated once I got the super jump thing. So
it's I think just a design necessity because the whole like game takes place in Italy, that they had to have bottles of water, bodies of water.
Right.
But yeah, swimming
like Venice is one of the places you go to.
Yeah. And but swimming is largely not that necessary for the majority of the game, which is probably a good thing.
Apparently they didn't even have it in the first one, and they were like, "There's a glitch in the Animus.
There's no water,
which why Altair can't swim."
Right.
There's, at the very least, I think they did a good job. Maybe not representing the generalized city, but like a lot of the like large landmarks. I thought those were both visually impressive and felt sort of like true to the kind of age they're representing. Mm-hmm. I never felt like they were like video game boss rooms. I always treated them like buildings that I had to sneak around. There was only a couple of times I can think of where the way that I had to get into the building was like a super obvious contrived thing.
Right.
Like there's that one building, I forget if both of you reached it, like somewhat late in the game, that's like the impenetrable building, the one you have to fly into. And that just has like, okay, there's a hay bale, there's some scaffolding. Like it's like this impenetrable fortress that is like getting repairs in the back left of it. So it's like a perfect one line that you can walk up. Well, yeah, but most of the time I thought they actually did a good job with sort of like the larger like Venetian structures. I was impressed by those, and the rest of it was, although very detailed, just so monotonous that there's no way to know.
I don't know what it was like for you guys playing on PC. But, like, the outdoor, like, field environments looked like ass.
Oh, yeah, they just look like shit, generally.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, like, the texture work is horrible. Yeah.
I was playing, like,
in the city,
ultra settings, 60 frames per second, shitty grass area.
There was a lot of pop-in on the PlayStation. Like,
and there's a ton
it'd be, like,
of,
just grass, and, like, now there's flowers.
Yeah. And, like, you were just growing the flowers as you were going by.
And, like, sometimes I would run across, like, a puddle and like no water effects would trigger at all.
Oh yeah, this is a weird piece of non-polish that I actually forgot about, and I'm glad that you reminded me of. This game so many times had what I don't know if it's intentional or not, but what I would construe as like missing audio effects. Like times in prescripted cutscenes where you would watch them and it seems like there should be a sound, but there was not a sound at all.
That didn't happen on console.
That actually is a thing.
Or there might have been a few times, but not in cutscenes.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a thing that I've seen in other games before, but I don't think I laughed as hard as I did in this game when this guy pulls Da Vinci out of his workshop and starts beating him up.
One of the times.
And he like goes to kick him, and like it makes no noise when his foot impacts him. It makes this like light like cloth against cloth like ruffling noise. Oh, yes, and then he's like, "You ready to talk now?" And it's like,
it's hysterical.
Had enough?
It's the first time that it happens, and it's just the sounds of like two sleeves being like rubbed together, kind of roughly. But it's supposed to be played off as this thing you're supposed to like rescue him from.
Yeah, you murdered this guy for like gently.
You've been like.
Had enough.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. But yeah, that happens a couple of times. There was one time where like the main bad guy boss kills someone by stabbing him, but the stabbing sequence had no like sound other than like ambient sounds and the music and stuff. So they have like a "now you die" moment. It was just like
this is the moment
where he falls over.
This is the moment where you have he's like, "Sorry to take your prize from you, assassin," and then like he sends people after you.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. During that whole sequence, after the startling no noise killing that occurred, that we were then treated to the entire fight scene, that guy moaning, which is like horrible and like way louder than it should be. So it's this like weird disconnect.
I was really far away when that sequence triggered, so I did not hear the moaning.
Oh no, I was really far away too. It was playing loudly in my ears. No, there are tons of other like examples of this where it's like when you enter the first tomb, it plays like a cutscene, and you like come down and you do like a superhero landing, and your hand clips through a skull that's on the ground, and I'm like, you made this, like you knew exactly what was going to happen to the point that you made it a cutscene. Just move the skull, like isn't that hard? Like, and there would be other times when like it would. there'd be scenes where it called for Ezio to, like, turn sharply to the left, and he would, like, look over and have his face would have his coat going through it.
Yeah.
It's like, these are pre-rendered. Like, just do a different thing. Like, this isn't necessary. You can just make it good.
This is sort of us looking back on history now, but we know this was less of the case with Assassin's Creed 2, because this is when their success really started to bloom, and they gave them the base that allowed them to churn the engine of Creed.
Right.
But, like, the working conditions for these games was not and could not have been good.
That's true.
Like, even, like, by video game standards, they could not have been good. After knowing what happened with the fucking faces in Assassin's Creed, 4?
Oh, right. I was going to actually talk about the faces in Assassin's Creed 2. But, like, this is a 2009 thing, not, like, an Assassin's Creed 2 thing.
Yeah.
But it's been so long since I've played a game from this era that, like, other than for the podcast, and, like, honestly, like, BioShock looks better than this game. But it's because it's such a small, like, area.
And because it's so dark.
Yeah. But, like, this is, like, Uncanny Valley to, like, the 100th degree, where, like, it looks like a human being, but does not act like... Yeah. People's mouths are way too big, and, like...
The Uncanny Valley to the nth degree will always be the Polar Express.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, yeah.
This is... Yeah, because these people look less human than that.
Yeah.
The people in this... Like, this game opens... Okay, we talked about this game opens, but then you enter the Animus, and then the real game opens by your own birth.
I forgot about this.
Yeah.
And, like, now, it is my understanding, and as, like, a mid-20s male, I have no first-hand experience with this, that childbirth is a fairly painful experience.
Oh, agonizing.
I'm sure, positive, in fact, that you do not become, like... Her mouth stretches like 100 feet, like, during this scene. And I was just so put off by this. Because, like, it's the first thing you see after going through a dumb sequence where you punch a bunch of guards.
Yeah.
You're then born, and at this point, it was when I realized the controller didn't work.
Oh, yeah, you sent me that snap.
Yeah, because before the control stick would work, but I guess none of the buttons did. Because when I was trying to move my hands and arms as a baby, nothing was happening, and so it was just this guy smiling in the corner of the screen for like 7 whole minutes while I tried to troubleshoot.
God. I can't even forget about the birth scene. What a perfect example of how this game takes itself too seriously.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, God.
This game tries to pull off way more things than it is, like, capable of doing with its mechanic set. Yeah. Like, it really wants to be, like, an art house game.
I don't know about
Part
that.
of it does.
Yeah.
Part of it does.
At least, like, 2 or 3 people on the development team wanted it to be an art house game.
Yes, they tried to shove some art house ideas into the game.
Like, when...
Like the end.
At the time when this was, like, when the series was, like, starting and going through, they had, like, personal mantras about, like, only going to locations that weren't normally explored in video games. Mm-hmm. Like, the reason that I will never, like, get, like, a World War I version of Assassin's Creed. Mm-hmm. So, like, they care enough, at least for stuff like that, where they're willing to just, like, write off things that are too mainstream coming from the developers of the Assassin's Creed series.
It's really telling when, like, one of the first lines said by... I want to say her name's, like, Rebecca, the, like, coder lady.
Oh, why would I know any of their names?
Yeah, they're all terrible. I know Sean, because Sean is an asshat, and I actually marked down why does no one call out Sean for being an asshat.
I mean, he is just an asshat.
Yeah,
that's no other
his whole character.
Yeah.
But she's, like, at one point she's just like, we did, like, more with a smaller, more focused team than they could ever do with all of their funding. And I was like, how ironic is it for Ubisoft to, like, espouse the like, privilege of having a small team? It's like, Ubisoft Montreal is not what you would call a small developer.
Yeah. Would they...
Especially coming off of the success of Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
They were probably sitting on, like, chairs made of gold bullion. Like...
The higher-ups were sitting on
bullion
chairs, yeah. The coders were sitting on whatever they could find.
It's laying around the office, like old filing cabinets turned on their side.
During the pit wars, when people had to fight over the necessary resources to create video games. Yeah.
The fuck were we talking about?
Something about
Assassin's Creed trying to be an art house.
Right, and it's like...
It's like, yeah, like some people on the team wanted it to be, and then they were told no.
They were writing checks that they couldn't cash, but the bank only caught like a few of them. And like actually just pulled from someone else's account on a few of them.
It's like they had this crazy sci-fi like frame story idea, and then someone was like, no, we need to refocus the project. But then, like, some of it stayed in.
Yeah. It's so true. And then they have, like, this whole subplot about, like, how Subject 16 went crazy. That's Assassin's Creed 1.
Is it?
I assume, right?
But like, Desmond is the character.
Yeah, Desmond's in both games.
But
who is in the Animus.
Isn't Desmond supposed to... This is me not knowing anything about Assassin's Creed 1. Desmond is supposed to be like an actual descendant of these people, right?
Yes, yeah.
But Subject 16 was in the same, like, Animus universe.
He was in the Animus and doing things to the Animus information network.
But just, like...
Yeah.
Wherever... But, like, why would he put... This is me conflating game design and...
Correct,
and
it is.
not game design. Where they just, like, put a symbol, like, on a building in a difficult-to-reach place. Specifically so that you would have to climb to it. Not because it makes any sense narratively.
Yeah, why did he hide all of his little information things within a 20-year span in Venice?
I can't believe I forgot to bring that up. But, like, I found that, like, super intriguing and thought that was going to go somewhere.
And it didn't at all.
And it goes nowhere. Like, they don't explain it at all.
Right.
And, like, I thought they were going to do, like, a portal thing, like a Ratman kind of thing.
Right.
Where, like, somebody's consciousness got lost in there or something.
It should have been a good way for them to use the frame story for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so that the listeners do not think that we're putting this episode out in relation to, one, the Assassin's Creed movie coming out this month.
Oh god, I forgot
or
about that.
the Ezio trilogy of Assassin's Creed games being remastered and re-released early next year.
I didn't know that either.
We don't actually care that much about what happened to Subject 16. Please do not buy those. And do not go see their shitty movie.
Well, we don't know if the movie's going to be bad.
I think you're being a bit too aggressive here about this. I think I've seen all of the Assassin's Creed movie trailers. I think all of the sounds in those trailers were bad, but all of the images in those trailers were good. If I turned the sound off, I would have liked them.
But if it was if sound is half of the movie,
I know. I'm just saying I'm not willing to just poo through my mouth.
We probably shouldn't argue about the Assassin's Creed movie.
I haven't. Wait.
We can talk about it off cast.
Thank you, Andy, Guardian of Cast.
All I'm going to say is I don't think it's unfair to assume that the movie's going to suck.
Okay. You're entitled to your opinion, Chad.
Oh, fuck. Alright. I don't know, does anybody have a...
Why do you spend so many sequences in this video game walking and listening to other people talk, but you walk slightly faster than they do, so it's annoying? Why does that happen?
I just didn't bother. Like, I remember there was a part where, like, Mario's talking to you about, like, Koopas or some shit, and I just, like... He was like, go somewhere and do a thing, here's some money. But I was like unsure how he gave me the money because I was like 100 feet away from him. On top of a building doing other things.
But like there's sequences where you're supposed to like follow them.
I just ran ahead of them. People, when you follow someone, like when you stalk someone...
They didn't have like a point on a map for you to go to though. It was always just you had to follow their little...
This time you lucked out because it was just going different places in the little chateau that you live in. But normally you like if you're too far away from them the game yells at you.
Yeah.
So you have to be like within a certain okay range. I'm not talking about when you're tailing people. That's like an actual game mechanics thing.
Right.
I'm talking about when you and Leonardo da Vinci have like a conversation about things that don't matter for like about 4 to 5 minutes as you have to walk in the most annoying fashion because they just couldn't put in an auto walk button. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't make it a cutscene. It was worth half the time. They just had to have all the audio in and had you to just stop and start just over and over again.
Yeah. This is them trying to do a non-cutscene cutscene.
Save money.
It's not even unique to this game. Like, it's just a thing that, like,
especially in this era. Yeah. Like, when the non-cutscene was becoming a thing.
And also, for some reason, NPCs always walking slightly slower than you.
Yes! Or there were sometimes where they would walk slightly faster than you. So that, like, you would have to, like... You'd have to run a little and stop, and run a little and stop.
I was super happy to find, like, the dumb mission where you have to run your family, across a field.
With a truck.
Yeah. I was... Just speaking of that...
Oh, with Da Vinci and you're on the cart?
Yeah. No. Well, that is cool, but... I actually liked that sequence.
I actually liked that sequence.
Okay. But no, the part where I was just, like... steamroll through these next two topics.
Yeah.
But the scene where you like walk your family to the chateau is like I was so happy to discover that they could run. So I was just fucking booking it. And they were just like, "Where are we going?" And just like sprinting along behind me. I was like, "I don't care. Please go away." And then we had to like fight people, and I didn't realize people were beating up my mom. So I ended up like she had like a quarter of her health left. I was like, oh geez, we stabbed the guy.
Yeah, the slow stab because they're just being helpless and getting all the attention from the guards. But yeah, my only explanation in terms of the slow walking sequences, at least early game, I remember thinking like, do they think that I want to like carry Leonardo da Vinci's box?
Fucking box.
Is that like what? Do they think that I have such reverence for history that I'm just gonna listen to their analog of Da Vinci say whatever they think Da Vinci should say when he was 20?
Yeah, that was very strange.
Yeah.
Padding.
Not a unique
cutting
thought.
Costs, etc.
Ergo, beats the B.
Yes.
Therefore.
So, this is not a unique thought for me.
Yeah.
You guys remember riding a horse?
I have ridden a horse.
It sucks.
It's horrible.
It sucks in every game, like I've said before.
Oh, you mean in video games? So yeah. Even in reality.
This game, the horse riding still sucked. Though I did like the fact that you could basically run over farmers with no consequence.
Yeah.
People would just be like plowing the fields, and I'd just be like... and then just keep going.
I thought the horse riding was like whatever, but like the fact that you could fast travel, like why would you even bother?
Yeah, I rode the horses 3 times.
That sounds about right.
Ever.
Yeah. I mean, you have to fast travel from like prescribed locations.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah, it is very bad.
Don't do that.
Especially when the prescribed locations are like 1/3 as prevalent as all the other prescribed locations that they're going to just like spit around.
Yeah.
For some reason, they thought like they had to like rationally justify the existence of like, I guess, with these like travel services over land or sea, because they're all in places that would make sense to have like I rent a horse, I rent a boat,
right?
But they didn't care about that with any other shop or
they're just like
do.
I'm this blacksmith. There are 2 more down the road, and it's like okay,
yeah. Oof. Fast travel that was not based in like
it was inconvenient fast travel. It was an inconvenient convenience.
Yeah.
That is a problem of game design. I honestly don't think that I really have anything else.
Oh, I've got things. Do you have anything, Danny?
Not especially.
Good. I've come to the conclusion that I will never like a stealth game that doesn't have a gun in it.
This has a gun in it.
Yeah, you can get a gun.
No, like
one that works. Guns. That's good.
Gotcha.
Sorry, correction. Not like a gun, like at least one gun. like thousands of guns.
So
there are
it's a
thousands of guns.
Where there's like a gun in a glass case somewhere, and you're like, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
Why?
Because anytime you attempt to model the existence of a gun, even if you do that with a whole lot of sort of like flexibility to the player and how much damage they can take and how much they can mess up, it's always infinitely more threatening than like non-gun scenarios put into games like this. Because they have all these stealth games and mechanics, and because stealth games normally accent your ability to like move or traverse environments in either unique or fast ways, if if being seen doesn't equate to being in danger, it becomes boring.
Yeah.
If the guys in this game had guns, you could not have barreled through the game.
Right.
Because they could kill you when they see you, not when they catch you. I don't want that to be a division.
Right. But I think that comes about because they wanted this to be an action game.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't want it to be like a game where, like Metal Gear, where if you get caught, you're fucked.
I would count Metal Gear 5 as an action game.
I meant like Metal Gear 1.
I'm gonna moderate here. Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yes. Okay.
That was what I was moderating, but Metal Gear 1...
fuck you. Heard on the
microphone. But yeah, I believe that this game is not a stealth game first and foremost. It has stealth elements, and the issue that I have is that, yes, if you get caught, you can fight your way out of a situation or just fucking run away.
Yeah.
But in the game, when it forces a stealth section, if you're caught, it just desynchronizes. And you have to start the whole fucking thing over again.
Right.
And that is awful.
Oh, yeah.
So, a situation where there's present danger to you when you get caught, but not immediate failure, is the best middle ground.
Absolutely.
And it always will be.
And that's why I always thought that the gun's the optimal solution. Because it's just another mechanic set. Like, getting fired upon, I don't want it to be like actual life guns where you are just dead if that happens.
Yeah, it's one shot.
Like in war.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, Rainbow Six, like the early ones, and I guess Siege now too. But
okay, what if they all had bow and arrows?
They do have, some of them do have bow and arrows, and they're shitty, and they never hit you.
Okay, but what if the bow and arrows were good?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen an archer fire an arrow.
Yeah, an archer hit me once the whole game.
I saw one, like, he pulled
times.
an arrow out, and this actually happened like almost every time I saw an archer.
Yeah.
He'd like notch an arrow, and then knock, I guess, and then I would walk toward him, and then he would just throw the bow on the ground and pull the sword.
Yeah.
Every time.
The only time I ever got hit by archers when it was like big groups of enemies, and there were like archers up on the wall.
Yeah, when you weren't paying attention to them or something. And that makes sense. But I don't think archery in games like this would be a generalized solution either, just because of the way that the crowds work. Like, if you have someone with a gun, and like the crowd does the panic disperse thing, it's like a lot... The arrow... The bullet's going to go through the people, and there are going to be more bullets behind it. It's not like an arrow where it's just going to hit one person, and you have to start the bow sequence.
Well, no, that's the thing, is that the bullets would still just probably hit one person.
Right, but my point is there's more bullets after that.
Oh, right, yeah. You don't have to actually, like, get a new arrow out. And
what if Da Vinci had invented an automatic crossbow?
Yeah.
We could maybe get away with that.
We could. Repeating crossbows did exist.
It would also be really questionable. I mean, already the guards do very questionable things, but whether or not a guard would morally want to just gun down a crowd of people to get to you.
In a hilarious open world video game like this, they're going to do that anyway.
I mean, I guess. In this game, like, I always like to, like, make the guards accidentally hit civilians, because, like, they always had the best dialogue. Whenever that happened, like, people would just yell at them, and then the guards would, like, kind of be ashamed of what they did.
I never had that happen once. I'm really sad about that.
It can happen without you noticing.
Yeah.
Easily. Like, I think I killed civilians on accident and, like, didn't even notice. Because they just kind of ran into the fight while it was happening.
I killed one type of civilian not on accident.
Oh, and then
many
it, like, pops
times.
up on the screen. It's like, Ezio didn't kill civilians.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's like, what?
Why would you do that?
Do you remember, this is just a
you can just murder
happened.
thousands of guards, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But not civilians, though.
Including guards that, like, aren't... Like, guards that are with people that you're now allied with at that point in the narrative.
Oh, we didn't talk about the final boss. We talked about it off-cast.
We did.
We didn't talk about it on-cast.
In terms of killing civilians, I had this sort of weird cycle that went on where I just made it like a personal law for myself, like an additional rule of the game.
To kill all the civilians.
Close. Every minstrel that came up to me, instantaneous death for that man.
Yeah.
And I made it a rule because it was a way to make the game sort of more interesting to me when it came up, because I wasn't looking for the minstrels. So it was another thing similar to the thieves that would sort of unexpectedly happen, and I had to deal with the consequence, even though the consequence was me killing that minstrel immediately.
Yeah.
But I really do not like those minstrels, and I don't know why they exist. They don't seem to do anything other than annoy you.
Yeah, like, do they... Okay.
They draw attention to you. Like,
is that true?
I've never seen them draw attention to me once.
Yeah, like, if there's guards walking by and a minstrel walks up to you, he starts singing about you.
Right, and
then the guards will come over.
That's what I expected, and I didn't really give them the chance, so I guess I didn't really know.
Yeah,
the minstrel, like, describes your facial features in, like, a police sketch.
If I saw one coming, I just started sprinting and, like, knocking them
out of the way.
Yeah.
I would just throw cash at them.
I
and
did
then
that.
Everyone in the vicinity would sprint toward my 10.
I only did that like once or twice because I just thought that was annoying to like switch weapons all the time.
Yeah. I assumed it was going to be the mechanic that you were talking about that drew attention to you, but because I always kept myself at such like low notoriety, it never seemed to have consequences to me, so I decided to kill them instead.
What fucking world? Did you guys have like multiple minstrels approach you at any time?
I had like two or three at one point.
Yeah, what fucking world is this? Where like 4 people with lutes show up and just start singing songs, like separate songs, just coincidentally all about you.
It treats them like they're like a homeless person who starts like washing your windshield at a gas station.
But like, why?
It's like they're running up like hoping that you'll throw them change.
Right.
Like, oh, you're so awesome.
What is their motivation in this encounter?
Because they want money.
They could get money? They would expect to get money. If I ran up to you and just started...
It was a different time.
Oh my god, I'm describing what a mariachi brand is.
Yeah.
That's literally what
No,
they do.
a mariachi band is an actual band that makes music.
But some of them also just do
It's
this.
just a street musician.
Yeah.
Those exist all over the place.
But street musicians are known for attempting to be like separate from the human world and in their own bubble and not trying to engage with people because they don't want to be rude. Street musicians aren't like like aggressively following you, saying about you specifically.
No one has ever done that. It's invented for this game.
Because you would get sued.
I bet there's like someone in New York that does that.
That just like runs out and says
like with an acoustic guitar, and it's like, hey.
He's probably not like struggling to make money either. He's probably like a YouTube celebrity.
Yeah. Probably.
I was initially going to joke that we were like showing our sort of historical ignorance here, and that this was like a major economic force in the 15th century.
I like the idea of us going to like a video game convention at some point in the future, because you will find someone who is dressed as Altair or as Ezio and just running up to them with lutes and just start singing songs about them directly to their face. Like, that would be the best, like, cross cosplay ever.
Yes. But apparently in the first game, there were beggars that would run up to you and ask for money.
That's better. I like that more.
And they changed it to minstrels in this game.
That's not equivalent, though.
they thought so.
A beggar and a minstrel are different.
They were like, what's like an Italian beggar? Like a minstrel?
Yeah, like a dude with a feather in his cap with a lute? Like, no.
There are way more poor people.
Yeah.
They could just had beggars.
Apparently they didn't like beggars.
I think they didn't like the idea.
They were like, beggars can't be choosers. So...
Alternatively, they just really hated minstrels.
Maybe.
I feel like what it probably was that there's like an inherent comedy and just like striking down with vengeance, just like a street musician who's just like giddily playing a tune for you.
Yeah.
Whereas there's like a certain amount of like social depression that happens when you just murder a beggar because he was annoying. It's like, that is terrible, and the other thing is absurd, and they would rather have the absurd thing in their game than the terrible thing.
You've solved it, yep, that is why.
So, how about that final boss fight? That sounds like a joke. Really quick,
just for my own ego, like, describe the conversation that had when I got here?
Yeah, go for it.
And you were just like...
Give the context.
You were like, did you finish the game? No. It was like, do you know what the final boss is? No. Do you want to take a guess? You have to assassinate the Pope. I was correct.
You were very correct.
This is like, for some reason, just so expected from what I was exposed to with this game.
Yep. But not only do you have to try to assassinate him, you just have a fist fight with the Pope.
Could not have guessed that.
Yeah, like... And the Pope agrees. He's not like, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you with a sword.
As someone who didn't go through the sequence, what's like the tone of this situation? Like, is it supposed to be like a dramatic, heroic finale? Where like,
yeah, it's supposed to be like, oh, look at how respectful, like how badass Ezio is. That he challenged him to a fist fight.
Respectful. Wait, badass.
Then he doesn't murder him in the end. He lets him live, and then you're supposed to be like, oh, Ezio's the bigger man.
Right.
Then the Pope.
The infallible.
Yeah, like they try to play him up like he's real heroic right at the end. And like he hasn't murdered thousands of people.
Right. Yeah, you let one guy live who has done something that was like, by definition, not good.
He's the most dangerous person that you've encountered in the whole game, and you probably should kill.
Yeah.
And he's in a position of power. He's the Pope.
And I'm presuming, like, the leader of the Templars, correct?
Yeah.
And you were the, like, foremost assassin.
Yes.
Why would that not even just be your prime directive?
It was.
Yeah.
He was just like,
he just abandons the idea.
Not now.
It's weird.
Terrible.
Makes it just terrible. Totally out of left field.
And God, because he's not played up as the kind of person who like would resolve a situation with fisticuffs. Like at the opening of the game, you do that, but you're like tiny kids. You're like it's supposed to. They wanted to tutorialize the combat for you before you were like crazy knife murder person.
Right.
But
back when the combat was actually like a challenge.
Yes.
As opposed to just meandering around stabbing people in the throat.
Yeah, but now that you can't like turn back the clock on being a crazy knife murder person. Like he's clearly really, really bought into the knife stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's literally bought in with lots of florins.
Yes, he's a full-on assassin.
Why would he not?
One of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And he just decides not to murder this most dangerous
individual.
Yeah. He has like a literal video game weapon wheel full of interesting ways to murder a guy.
Yep.
And he chooses the one. It's dumb.
Yep. Very dumb.
Though, about the weapon wheel, can we talk about how stupid the sound effects are?
For the weapon wheel?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You're not... Okay, if this didn't stick out to you, maybe I'm being too sensitive.
Yeah. You are.
But, like, when you, like, switch to the fist, it makes, like, a sound effect.
I never switched to the fist. Because I was the knife murder person. Why would I ever need my fist ever again?
I never switched to the fist either.
Okay, what makes a terrible sound effect? It, like... When you switch to the sword, it has, like, some sword clashing. Mm-hmm. When you switch to the fucking coins, it makes, like, a cash register noise.
Isn't that, like, something that, like, a lot of games do?
I've never seen a game
like,
when
you equip, like, a weapon, like, having, like, a sword sound effect, that's definitely in other games.
That's fine, but the fist it's just too
the
stupid.
fist is kind of comical.
Yeah.
Makes you think of, like, boxing glove or, like, a...
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's obnoxious because it happens when you select it, not when you equip it. Mm-hmm. So like you could just like spin the wheel and it would just make 1,000 stupid noises in a row, like some kind of demented, violent speaking spell.
Or now, what are those called?
Like the things that have like
you pull and it spins and it makes the sound of the animal it lands on.
Yeah, it's always an animal. They only want to teach you with animals with those weird wheels.
Yeah,
whatever those are called.
The wacky word wheels.
Please leave a comment. What the name of those are.
Of those things
all
are.
2 viewers that we have.
And for all of our baby viewers.
Yeah, all of our baby viewers.
And by viewers, we mean not viewers, because it's the only thing we don't do. You don't see us. That's the rule. Whores and murderers.
Spies and thieves, she spits.
The only thing that I have that we have not covered is that I just wrote down the quote, "You broke her heart," and then the other guy says, "Now I'll break your face." Because I don't think they could have resisted having someone with an Italian accent say, "I'll break your face."
It's another thing that you just made me think of. All the voice acting in this game sounds like American voice actors doing bad Italian accents.
What they were.
Yeah. Also,
I haven't heard anyone else bring that up. Like, no one was, like, offended by that. That seems amazing.
I don't know.
That people didn't, like, make a big deal about that.
Are Italians, like, either are they Italians, like, a sensitive group in that way, or are they, like, a group with enough cultural influence that they would be heard anyway? Not like in like a change sort of way. Like literally, would we know about it if every Italian was really mad about this?
It just seems like something that like media would like Target, like...
No.
Okay, the thing that I actually thought was
whitewashing.
Weird, I don't think we're whitewashing him because the voice actors were white people.
They clearly whitewashed Drake for this game.
Yeah, that's true. Ellie, that is on record twice now that I think that your character just looks like a white Drake. But more importantly, though, I don't understand why they chose to just occasionally throw in Italian. Like the language Italian.
I'm actually okay with that. It's like a kind of common choice.
I'm fine with it. I just don't understand
That's like a thing that even like movies do.
Yeah.
Like if the characters are of a different nationality.
Yeah, but the way that they do it in this game is like they'll say entire sentences in Italian and translate them when it's like important, but then but most of the dialogue's in English. It's like I just don't understand why they chose to do that.
So that like you don't forget that you're in Italy because you're a dumbass.
It's
drinking Mountain Dew and eating Doritos.
It's used sort of like
punctuation
or like exclamations, or in the same way that you use like a
and
swear
every time
word.
that you kill somebody.
Yeah,
that feels appropriate.
Yeah, because it makes it's used as a way to make things seem cooler. Like the italics font of this game is Italian.
Yeah,
and it's also used to. I don't know, like... I agree with you that it's definitely a weird practice to think about, but I have never disliked it in any form of media. I've always been sort of okay with the little nonsensical peppering of, like, different language influences.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fun, especially if it seems naturalistic, but it to me, it just made me think about the decision, and it's not something that I wanted to think about when I was playing the game.
Yeah.
It's not, like, offensive to me. It's whatever.
Yeah. If you're Italian and you really don't like Ubisoft,
yeah,
please make sure it's for this reason and not because of
all of the other good reasons to dislike Ubisoft.
This was apparently one of the first like always-on DRM debacles back in 2010 or 11 when this came out on PC.
Yeah, I don't like to give Ubisoft like too much shit, but like I gave them enough shit at the beginning of the podcast, I think, but they do sort of make the same game a lot.
Yeah.
But this was the first one.
This is the second one. This is literally a sequel. But I think, presuming we're not going to go into anything else right now.
I had the word Latin music written down, and I forget why.
I actually did have a thought about the soundtrack of this game. I actually kind of liked it, but just because it sounded exactly like the soundtrack you would expect in this kind of a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good note.
It was pretty good. It was sort of, like, there was a period of time at the opening of the game where I thought I was going to love the soundtrack, but then I got disappointed because I didn't really like the combat music. But that was, like, the only one. But it's a very important track to get right.
Mm-hmm. Because you hear it so often.
Like, it's unusual considering the number of games that we play for, like, tracks to really stick with me. But the one that's, like, the sort of majestic running around track, like, it plays during all of the, like, races and the games and stuff. It's sort of just singing and things. That stayed with me, and I was surprised by that.
No surprise that JJ liked the soundtrack, and I thought it was really bland and forgettable. Like, I couldn't remember the way any of these songs sounded.
I feel like they're not the kinds of songs that are designed for you to remember them.
Yeah, they're like a movie score. Like, they're supposed to be in the background.
It has themes.
It's
like,
what's the Assassin's Creed theme? I have no clue.
It's like right now.
Yeah, there's like a few. There's like a few things, and there's like the little guitar that like strums around. My electric guitar, like, period, appropriate guitar. I think I don't know this for sure. This is exactly the kind of thing that I should have looked at in advance. That like the composer for this game is like actually kind of well known for this work, but he got replaced at some point, and people were mad about it.
This would be news to me.
Yeah, Speculation Cast 2016.
I think we're done. I think we're out of steam.
Yeah. I think the one thing, like my wrap up, I guess, would be like, I feel like if I played this game at a different time, which is not my fault, not the game's, because it actually came out 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I probably would have really liked it. Like, I actually would have like engaged with it because I was into games like this at the time. But now, this is not a game to play in 2 weeks and talk about. Like, on a podcast. Cancel the episode. Because, like, when you're in a situation where time is actually a factor in your life...
Yeah, open world games are awful.
Yeah. I was not able to engage with the things that I liked about the game deeply enough, and had to engage with things that I otherwise would have ignored, just like in order to get like a fuller picture of what it was. This is the kind of game that just offers a whole bunch, and you can and should pick and choose what content you want to engage with.
Yeah.
It is the buffet of action platformers.
I would say I had a similar experience, but I actually had to finish the game, so I guess mine was a little more positive than yours.
Sure.
But, yeah, I feel like if I would have had more time, I would have liked this more, and I feel like if I would have played it a few years ago, I would have liked it more. But, like, as it stands, I still think this is a pretty good game, but like I said earlier, there's lots of areas that needed more polish.
Yeah. This was good implementations of a lot of mechanics with a lot of bloat, but
bloat is a good word.
Yeah, I really liked what you said earlier, that this is like Too Many Cooks, the game.
Yeah. There's too much stuff. I feel like there were too many influences from different people, like, fighting for time on the floor, and it's like, what you end up with is a really well-designed world with a lot of not well-designed things inside of it. Thanks for listening to No Clip this week.
What are we talking about next time?
There it is. Next time, we're all, I'm assuming, very excited because we're going to be talking about Pokémon.
Oh my god.
It's our first ever, like, series retrospective.
Yep.
Which is, like, a really, like, huge word for us bullshitting about Pokemon.
Yeah. Hint, we're not going to play every Pokemon game to completion in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would be a little bit ridiculous. We've
already done that, that's why.
If I'm lucky, I will have completed Pokemon Sun by the time we do our next podcast.
When's that being made?
It comes out
next week.
This Friday. This coming Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit. Make sure you get one of those, like, Doug Trios with the sweet-ass hair.
Yeah. Whoa, you're spoiling Pokemon Sun and Moon already.
JJ.
They haven't seen the hair.
Yeah, everyone already knows about the ridiculous Doug Trio anyway.
So either I'm not spoiling it, or I'm tantalizing them.
I'm glad that we managed to talk about Doug Trio 2 weeks in a row, and are assuredly going to talk about it 3 times.
Alright.
When did we talk about Doug Trio last time?
Pokemon Snap.
We were talking about Pokemon Snap.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that video game. Doug Trio.
Classic JJ.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can do so at noclippodcast@gmail.com, on our website, noclippodcast.com, on Twitter, @noclippodcast. And please leave us a review or rating on iTunes. Tell your friends about us. Spread the word. I think that's all I got.
Hey, Chad. I've distilled an elixir of lead and pomegranate.
So, JJ, what kind of food is Assassin's Creed 2?
We must know.
It can't be a potato. It's,
From the sounds of it, it sounded like it was worse than a potato.
From the sounds of it, it's an elixir of lead and pomegranate.
It's like a loaded baked potato that was way too loaded.
And then overbaked.
Yes.
It's an overloaded baked potato.
Overloaded, overbaked potato.
Yeah.
Not overloaded in an extreme sense. Overloaded like in a nuclear fallout sense. Like anything could happen to this baked potato.
Baked potatoes never change.